In 1968, a country boy from PEI, Canada, and a city girl from Salem, Massachusetts met and fell in love at first sight. At 22 years old, my mom became pregnant with her third child, me. Living in a self-renovated two-room chicken coop in a small town in Vermont with 3 children under the age of 3, they were rich with health and love. My mom planted seeds and grew the most fertile garden one can imagine so that we could eat organic foods all year. My mom became pregnant with her 4th child. They had officially outgrown the coop and sought a new home to settle in. My parents had a friend who offered to sell a blue-painted school bus to them for $100, and they jumped at this opportunity. My dad, a talented construction worker, rigged a kerosene fridge, a stove, and lighting for us. My baby sister slept in the bottom drawer of a dresser that was the most comfortable bed any infant could ever have. We lived this way for another year, and when my mom became pregnant for the last time with her 5th child, she and my dad were committed to raise their children where there was no crime and where the simple life could be found. Living in Prince Edward Island, Canada, we moved 2 times before finally settling in my dad's childhood home. A 100-year-old farmhouse that had 10 rooms and 6 bedrooms became our permanent home on the island. The 7 of us moved into this home, and finally for the first time when I was nearing 5 years old, we had a TV. Once again, we had a fertile garden and lived off of the land. During the summertime, we would use a horse and buggy to get around, and during the winter times, we would use a sled. From the time I can remember, my mom would take care of everybody who came through the door. One of her jobs included feeding 25 people that worked a tobacco farm. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner she served. From the time I can remember, I wanted to be a mom, a wife, have children of my own, and take care of the house. I remember the days as we were younger when my siblings would play outside in the barn. I chose to stay in the kitchen with my mom. I was afraid of the mice in the barns, the worms in the garden, and getting my hands dirty. When my baby sister was born, I thought of her as my own baby. I really believed that we were the little house on the prairie, just like the TV show. When my dad's mom, my Grammy, became really sick with MS, we had to place her in a nursing home. This devastated my dad and all of us. Every Sunday, we would drive to town and pick Grammy up to bring her home for Sunday dinner. During that time, I was the age of 7, and my mom and I would toilet her, and I remember thinking to myself, I could do this forever. I wanted to take care of her. I loved my dad so very deeply. And remember, I was afraid of the barns because of the mice. And it seemed as though every spring there was snow on the ground and it would be very, very cold. And that's the time when all of our livestock decided to have their babies. These were the most precious times I spent with my dad. I would bring him a thermos of hot coffee and something to eat and watch him beautifully deliver all of our animals into the wee hours of the morning. My mom always said, "You children were born from passionate love and great music." Fast forward to 6 days before my 12th birthday, April 1st, at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were awoken to the sounds of our smoke detectors beeping and my parents yelling, "The house is on fire, get out quickly!" With nothing but bare feet and flannel nightgown on my back, my siblings and I trekked out through the cold, snowy ground to get to our car. There we watched our home, our lives go up in flame. I remember going back to the scene of where my home once stood the next morning when it was daylight, praying I could find anything, something that belonged to me out of the pile of ashes, but there was nothing left. My dad's hard-working hands quickly built us a new home to live in within 3 months. We moved in, and within a year, we moved out. We moved back to the States. Fast forward 15 years, I was now a successful coda, making really good money, had a lot of good friends, I did a lot of traveling, and my best, most constant person in my life during that time was my dad. My dad was the best dinner date, and he was the most fabulous fishing buddy any girl could have. Right before my 30th birthday, I met the man of my dreams. my Prince Charming, and 3 months later, we were engaged to be married. Life was great. 1 month after my engagement, I received a phone call that changed my life forever. My dad, who had never been to a doctor his entire life and always been healthy, was diagnosed with stage 4 adrenal cancer. He was sentenced to 9 months to live, but he lived for 15. I moved in with my dad for the remaining 5 months of his life. I do believe to this day that because of our deep connection, those 5 months added value and length and longevity to his life. Fast forward to the wedding of a lifetime. My prince and I had the most romantic wedding and immediately started our family. The caregiving roles that I endured as a child and yearned for my entire life were finally coming alive. And although my dad could not physically be there on my special day, my brother wore his cowboy boots, which he lived in, as he walked me down the aisle. Having babies was the best thing that ever happened to myself and Joshua. We loved having our babies. And I'm grateful to both my mom and dad for showing me how to love so unconditionally. To be human is to be occupational. All of my life experiences have helped shape me into the person and occupational therapy practitioner that I am today. So the losses and my caregiver roles that I have experienced throughout my entire life, I believe have contributed and helped shape me into the occupational therapist that I am today. I am empathetic, I am compassionate, and I'm a hard worker. A dear friend recently asked me whether or not I have a real Christmas tree during the holidays. My response was, of course I do. That is family tradition. I will continue to share traditions with my children as my parents did with me. As I move forward towards the next chapter of my life, I can't tell you what will happen, but I know I will make mistakes, suffer more loss, and continue to caregive with all my heart. It is human to live, to feel, to love, and to share. There is so much I want to uncover, discover, and share. The story of my life, this autoethnography, will be continued.